there's always a price you're going to pay for the outcomes that you get. And sometimes it costs money, sometimes it costs experience, sometimes it costs sleepless nights.
Welcome back to another episode of My Dental Playbook. I'm your co-host, Gary Bird. Along with my friend, Dr. Blake Hamblin, we're going to be diving deep into his office and how he's doubled his collections in just under 12 months. We're also going to be talking about his journey to a $10 million practice and what he needs to do to get there. You're going to see behind the curtain, and Dr. Blake is amazing at sharing the hard details that you need to know so you can do the same too. If you want to grow, this is the show for you. Stay tuned. All right, we are live, and today we got a great episode. We're going to talk about the price you pay to grow. If you want to grow fast, that's awesome, but there's a price that you pay for that. And if you want to grow slowly, that's awesome too, but there's a price that comes with that. As the leader of your practice, you get to decide the pace. And Dr. Blake's going to be transparent with us today and talk about both sides of it. He's done both. He's had the slower growth and the pain that comes with that. He's also dealing with some of the faster growth and some of the pains that come along with that. So we're going to dive deep into that, and it's going to help you, hopefully, decide what kind of practice that you want, because you get to choose. Now, before I go any further, make sure that you check out our sponsor, Cherry, below. They are amazing. Every practice that's implemented them and used them properly has seen a minimum of a 30% increase in collections. Everybody, like I've done this for tons and tons and tons of offices. If you want a training on it, just comment down below. We have a whole training. Dr. Blake did it. It's so good with him and his TC. And we have special pricing for you. So check them out. They're an amazing sponsor and partner, and I highly, highly recommend them that you give them a shot. So let's jump into this bad boy. Fast versus slow. So let's talk about the slow side first. What is slow? What is slow growth? Let's define that first of all.
Yeah, well, more so it's probably the how you approach the growth. So for a long time, I wanted to grow, but I didn't know what that would cost me, right? And what I found is exactly how you started us out was there's always a price you're going to pay for the outcomes that you get. And sometimes it costs money, sometimes it costs experience, sometimes it costs sleepless nights.
Yeah, mental health.
Yeah. And so I wanted to grow, but I wasn't willing to really jump it off the cliff from a perspective of really investing in what that would look like. I thought, and I believe that $5,000 was a lot of money to pay a marketing company to grow the way that I wanted to grow. We coach in this group, and I coach in a few other groups, and I see that so frequently is, oh my gosh, Dr. Hamlin, I wish I was growing as fast as you. And I'm like, but do you? You know what I mean? Like there's things that come with that. And it took me a long time to understand that there was always going to be a price, but I have to decide, do I want it to be in money? Do I want it to be in sanity? Do I want it to be in, a myriad of different things that it could be?
So let's talk about some of the downsides of the slower growth. So when you were at 20 new patients, I remember when we talked to you, you were like, hey, we're going to give you like 2 months and then we're going to fire you if you don't perform. I've already done this like a million times. I don't have time to spend a year with you, which I understood the struggles that you were dealing with. So what were some of the stress that having 20 new patients and trying to grow that up to 30, what were some of the stresses that you dealt with at that time?
Yeah. In that season, it was a lot of frankly, it was comparison. You look around and you see so much online. You see friends in different markets that are growing faster, and you realize that, oh my gosh, if we don't get some new patients through the door, then we're gonna like not hit our goals for the month, right? And so much of it, I feel like I did a very good job of not being the needy dentist. And what I mean by that is so many times when we feel squeezed by finances, we become the needy dentist. And that the needy dentist is the one that starts saying like, you need a crown and you need this and you need that, versus giving patients the option to do it. However, every day I was like, man, if we don't do X, Y, and Z, the goals that I have, which were totally unrealistic, right? Totally unrealistic based off of what I was giving into the growth, the opportunity to grow, weren't going to happen. And so there was a lot of stress of like, if we don't, it was more internal. I was going to let myself.
We got to hit $20,000 in production, and we have 2 patients on the schedule.
Right.
So it's
I was going to let myself down for goals that weren't even attainable. if that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's, and that becomes stressful because you're like, I've been there too in a business where we set these goals and it's just like, oh, we missed it. Oh, we missed it again next month. Oh, we missed it again. And then it's like, okay, it's impossible to ever catch up. There's no way we ever catch up. Now let's change the goals again, but it's very arbitrary because you don't have levers to pull. So it's like, yeah, set whatever growth numbers you want. You don't have any lever to pull to actually increase new customers, new patients coming in. Doesn't really matter what your goals are.
And I think you want to be in the position that you're not in, right? So like I wanted so bad to be the manager and the leader that I am now and have that responsibility, but I had no clue what that actually meant. And we'll talk about that on the back end here, right? But like you don't know what you don't know. And I would see friends and people online or whatever that were quote unquote on the next step or in the next phase. But I didn't know all the things that went in to do it. And there was just a lot of, frankly, comparison that was unhealthy. What I learned is like just being in the season is the best thing that you can do is like look at the problems that we solve. And then like we've talked about in the past is just attack those problems with full intentionality and not getting distracted on the little things that pop up, but realizing, okay, if I really want to grow from 15 new patients to 30 new patients, I've got to change something. I can't just keep doing the same thing or having the same marketing budget or working with the same company or whatever if it's not working. Right. And those were some mistakes I made.
So, okay. So that's the slow side. That's the slow, painful side. What was good when it was slower growth? What were some of the good things from that? Was there positives?
Yeah, I would say probably I had the most freedom in my office at that point. At that point, I was truly only working 3 days a week. I had very little outside time. Like when we talk about when do you work on the business, is like really didn't need to. It kind of like just was easy. You know what I mean? And now it's a very different story. Now, like we're back in, I was at DSI this weekend and Mark Costas gave a really good talk and he just talked about seasons and, how you have the, spring, fall, summer, winter type of deal. And it was like your spring season is you're going. And a lot of us kind of got lost in the sauce a little bit because we were like, okay, the goal is to get to winter. And like all you're doing in winter is just hanging out, eating hot or drinking hot chocolate. You know what I mean? But this is all cyclical. Like there's parts in your business where you're going to be growing and then you're going to be in this like maturation stage and then you're going to relax and then you're going to have freedom. And
then you're going to, when you get freedom, you're like, I can do this new thing. And then guess what? You go back through that process again. I've done this like multiple times personally.
Then that was when I had the most freedom from my office. Now my office still revolved around me. If we closed, the office closed, but I didn't feel the need to be everything to everybody. Right.
Yeah.
And as we grew, that's changed.
Okay. So now let's talk about fast growth. So the first month you started with us, you came in, you spent $4,500. Next month you spent $6,000. Next month you spent $75. Next 2 months, then you spent 10 and 10. Then you doubled it to 20. Then you went to 25. Then we pulled back a little bit, back down to 20. Then back up again and then back down. So we were like testing some things. I think you were hiring at that time too, because you were like, okay, whoa, we're getting some patients in.
Well, and we had discovered that my Google reviews, I didn't have enough Google reviews to really
for the volume that we wanted. Right. Yeah. We started encroaching on other dentist areas who had a lot of Google reviews, a lot of marketing. So it just wasn't working. But then we dialed it back in and then you went to 24,000, then 29,000. For a couple months and then 36,000. And right now you're at $44,000 a month. So you grew fast and once you saw the new patients going in, you just keep like, okay, more money. And then it's like forwards, backwards. That's fast growth. So you did that over a very short amount of time going from, you 10X'd your marketing budget. You went from 4,500 to 45,000 basically. But your new patients are 10X. You're going to be really close to two. You went from 20 new patients. You're going to be close to 200 new patients. So tell us let's talk about the bad side of growing fast. Like what does this cost you and how does it feel right now?
Yeah. In addition to like totally blowing my marketing budget out of the water, I built a massive 6,000 square foot facility, that needed, double, if not 2.5 times the amount of team to operate it. And so, man, like this is what I feel like everybody has to go through this. It's kind of like when your mom and dad tell you don't do that and then you do it. And then you realize when you're 25 that they actually do have a brain and they're smart. Right. And so like people don't talk about this. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this on the podcast was like, we moved and I felt like a really bad leader because we had roughly 80% turnover when we almost immediately when we moved. And it wasn't because people didn't like me. It wasn't because we had bad culture. It wasn't because of any of that stuff. It was just, even though our small practice was going large and we were still that close knit, family boutique style practice, we were a very different practice. We were a practice that was trying to scale, trying to grow. Expectations were roughly the same, but they were a little bit different. And some people just decided that that wasn't for them. And then also we had to decide like, you're not a fit for us moving forward as well. And so really like my leadership over the past year and a half is like quadrupled because I've had to learn how to have these really tough conversations. I always like joke around as like business, you lose your soul because it's like even though you love this person, you sometimes have to make the really hard decision of like, hey, I want the best for you, but the best for you isn't here. Right. And so we've, you know, doubled our marketing budget, have a bigger building. We're doing everything we can to try to maximize our growth here. But in those seasons, we've had seasons where we've been overstaffed. We've had seasons where we're just perfectly staffed, and we've had probably over the past 3 or 4 months where we're wildly understaffed. And I think some of my team members listen to this, and I just want them to know that like I'm so grateful. Yeah, working on it, but also so grateful for the ones that buy into the vision, buy into the culture, because we couldn't have done this this past 4 months without them. And so we've been, looking for the right people, and our team's like, oh my gosh, we're so understaffed, but they're not it. And so, I mean, literally as a percentage of my payroll, we try to stay around 20 to 22%. And we've been as low as 13%, which from a profitability perspective, dentists around the country are like, yeah, let's go. Yay. But you don't understand no. how stressful that's been. You don't understand how
and you're
terrible.
Growing. And you're growing. Yeah.
Right. And so, which even highlights how awesome the team members that are here are, right? Like the fact that that's the case is so awesome.
And it's not that you don't want to hire, right? So I want to call that out. It's not like you're like, hey, let's keep our labor down so our profits are up. You want to hire. It's just hiring's hard. It's a hard process.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've had people that were like, man, these people are going to be awesome. So yeah, we've had people that we hire and we're just super excited about them, and we think they're going to be a great fit. And maybe they are for a month or two. And then all of a sudden they're a different person. And you're like, where did this person come from? And then we've had people that are a good culture fit, but maybe make some poor decisions that don't align with our values. And we have to make that tough decision. And so, it's just been a tough growth period from the perspective of like really nurturing our team. And it would be really easy to feel like a bad leader in that season. Like when you do that, I mean, I've gotten emails from team members that we fired. I've gotten emails and text messages from their husbands. Like I've been thrown out into the woods a lot the past 3 months, but I wouldn't change it. I think that like to get to where you want to go, it always takes going through the fire a little bit. And, I think we're starting to come out of it. Like we're now in that overstaffed phase. So we've gone from having at one point one assistant, like we had one assistant for all these, right? And it was just for day.
Like on a busy day, you saw like 24, 25 new patients.
Yeah. And so like, of course we staffed with like temps, and we figured it out, but like not a good situation. And now the goal I told my team was like, let's just be overstaffed and let's have 8 assistants. And if we need 6, hire 8. And then the 2 that don't fit, we'll free to a better future. Right.
That's awesome that you're doing that, by the way, because a lot of people wouldn't do that. That's the correct way to do it. And then one thing I want to call out too is like when you're a smaller practice, you need people who are just going to do things on the fly, that they don't need an SOP, and they're very independent. When you become a bigger team, you have to have processes, because everybody doing their own thing actually causes, because there's multiple layers in the stack, right? The patient doesn't go to the through 1 or 2 people. They're going through 12 people. They all have to stay aligned on that patient, what they need, what they want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a lot more complication. So you have to have more tighter processes. And that requires a person who's more detail oriented, not as independent. But then you're going to get to the next stage, and that's where you're at now, where you now need leaders who are more independent to manage the processes. And it's just like stacking. And the same thing with the new patients. It was like there were certain freedoms that you had not having a lot of new patients, and there's certain things that you now have with those new patients, but you lose out on other things. So there's always a give and take with this. And I think that was the point of the whole podcast, was what is the price of growth, right? It's going to cost you something. Now, on the fast side, what are the pros? Like, what are the pros of like when I first met you, you had all these big goals and you were very excited about them. And then you were like, get me to them as fast. And I was like, dude, we can't go from 20 to 200 new patients in a month. Like, I just can't, there's no way to do it. It'll break everything. So you were like, okay, let's do it as fast as possible though. So now that you've kind of gotten to your goal, or I know there's still some milestones, but you've kind of gotten what you wanted. What are some of the good things that have come from that?
Yeah, I think specifically, I know the how has changed a lot over the months. You joke around a lot about how I'll like call you middle of the month and have some grand idea and whatever. But the goal has always been more new patients through the door. Like, something that hasn't changed is what we're measuring isn't even necessarily ROI or it's active patient count. Like, that's what we're measuring. And that's going to continue to be what we measure, because we still have so much runway, in our practice. But, specifically for me, and like what I really care about, and we talk about in our mastermind, is the why behind it, right? Like, I had built a fantastic cash flowing practice that provided a great life, a great income, but it was all about what I could do. Right. And I was like, I don't want to do this forever. I love dentistry. I don't necessarily want to stop doing dentistry, to get out of the chair for the sake of getting out of the chair. Right. But I did want to build a practice that didn't revolve around me, that could have associates and multiple associates, to where if I'm not here, it can operate and they can operate at a really, really high level. Right. But when you get to experience this growth, you experience the growth and the goals come with it. Right. And that's where we're at now, is like, I'm currently looking for another associate, and I really like the idea of onboarding a new grad that, wants to learn, but also has realistic expectations that we can match, the expectations with. So like, I don't think the perfect associate for us right now is someone who's been out for 5 years and wants to do like everything that I'm doing or whatever. I think the right person for us is probably someone who just graduated and doing a crown and 2 fillings a day. There's a
lot of those kind of people too. That you get all the opportunity.
Right. And so we're in that season of like exploring.
And do you like that? We're talking about the positive side of this. Is that like a plus to you?
For sure. Because ultimately the goal is for me, what I would get the most fulfillment out of my job of being a dentist isn't actually doing the dentistry. It's coaching the dentists that are doing it. Problem arises and I get to go help solve that problem, or they're struggling and closing treatment, and I get to help guide them on the path of how we can improve that. Like, that's what would wake me up every day. We did a podcast with Jason Tenoria not too long ago, And he said something about along the lines of like just doing the dentistry didn't get him out of bed anymore. Right. And I'm not there yet. Like I still love doing the dentistry, but I can see the world. And part of how I get compensated is looking 6 months, 12 months, 24 months ahead. And I can see a world in which the practice doesn't need me to produce the dentistry. It needs me. The best use of my time is to help grow and lead other dentists. And that actually aligns really well with what I want. Right. And so that's the beautiful thing is not only have we experienced growth and people love to see that and they're like, oh my gosh, you're going to go to the moon type of deal. But it's like, no, I'm actually striving for a goal that's bigger than me. You know what I mean?
Creating opportunities for others. There comes a certain point in business, and I've gotten here a couple years ago. I got to this place, and it felt really good, and then we took a couple steps back, and then had to rebuild and
as one does.
Yeah, as one does, business does to you. It's always humbling, right? And then, but it's when I love setting other people up for success. Like it is a really good feeling. It's not a short-term dopamine hit, like being the superhero and doing all the treatment or answering everybody's questions. But the long-term dopamine hits from it is just like, it's really satisfying and it's really good. And then you go through like people leave and people don't appreciate it, but it still feels good. It still feels awesome to set people up for success. It's one of the reasons I love dental marketing so much, is because I get to work with people like you and watch them reach their business goals. It's so satisfying. Like, it's amazing. It creates a whole nother thing of problems like we're talking about, but it's just really satisfying to grow. I enjoy growing. I appreciate you because you're always growing. And that's actually our company why, is always growing. And my personal why is I always want to be growing. I always want to be growing spiritually, with maturity, I want to grow my family, all that kind of stuff. And so I just love it. And I appreciate you coming on today and sharing this. And if you're still watching this, that means that you enjoy the content. And we have a mastermind. We just had ended up being like 8 doctors in there or something like that. A lot of people there. The people in the mastermind are growing, and they're growing fast. And so we just had a doctor come on and do a podcast that will be dropping soon. It was the last episode, I believe, when this one comes out. They went from $100,000 to $200,000 in 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. In collections, they more than doubled their collections in 90 days. And it wasn't because they came in and spent a bunch of money. They just made some small tweaks, and those small tweaks absolutely rocket ship them. If you want to come to the mastermind, we'd love to have you. It's $299. You do have to fill out an application, and you can't be a jerk. So those are our 2 main rules. So
that's right.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Dr. Blake. This is really good.
Thanks so much.